Hours, weeks, months pass, wrestling with the details of how they will live together. They shape a new town and redefine their community.
We are looking at this community that has been flooded. In the process, we hope that some choices can be made so that the relocation is not simply a duplication of what happened in the past, but it's an improvement upon that past. How can that improvement happen? It can only happen by people speaking up, being informed, knowing what the options are, and taking their democratic kind of responsibility very, very seriously. Shared ideas means that you speak them out so other people can hear them, judge them, evaluate them, and then select the ones that are most important. When I was in Vladivostok, Far East Russia, 3 months ago, and there were potholes in the pavement, but everybody was waiting for somebody in power to do something about it. And people did not know that they can just pick up the shovel and fill up that pothole.
When they set these lots up, they should all be set up at one time, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know how we're going to do it on lottery or whatever we're going to do it on.
Here in our country, I think what has happened is that we got very used to complaining about what is going wrong. So community meetings are filled with people who object to something. I object to this development. I object to my neighborhood changing.
You go back to where they're all built alike, and you don't even know which one's your house.
There's a little concern to start with that, it's not going to make any difference what we tell these folks are going to do it the way they want to. Now the whole community's into it in terms of, it's my idea, I'm going to talk about it, you're going to listen, we're going to be involved, and we'll all decide this together. And that's where it's supposed to be, and it's getting better all the time.
I'd like to have space for trees, but still have the houses close enough to feel neighborly.
Okay? Yes.
I would like for them to build facilities for the youth to have activities other than beer parties in the park and things like that.
I'd like to see all the churches in our funeral home in the same area.
All the churches are close together?
Along with our funeral home.
Along with the funeral.
He's a friendly undertaker.
This land couldn't be purchased. So what we did is we came over here.
It's not every day that you pick up and rebuild a new town or even grow your existing town. And they'll be working hard, but it's a tremendous sense of accomplishment when they're done. I built this town. They'll say, I built this town, literally.
In our public squares, we honor the people who built our cities. San Jose, California, in a new burst of redevelopment, authorized funds for a statue. The city council approved the likeness of Captain Thomas Fallon, who planted the American flag in San Jose. It was cast in Italy, and the 4.5-ton statue was shipped to the city for installation. The Mexican-American community objected. Their ancestors were here first.
Now, nobody has ever said that the felon will never be installed. What we did say is that in all fairness to the controversy and to those who stood up and spoke out, we will commemorate other significant pieces of art to respond.
Fallon was consigned to a warehouse. Sculptor and native son Robert Graham was commissioned to render in stone an Aztec god, Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent.
And it seemed like a good idea for the city to have something that's representative of the Mexican community.
But peace was not restored. Segments of the Christian community objected to the pagan symbol.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
Because it does have a religious undertone, that it is a god, it does not belong in a public park.
Other ethnic groups who make up San Jose today wanted statues celebrating their heritage. 4 more statues have been approved.
Controversy in public art is never about the art itself. There's always some larger agenda that's being played out by the participants in these public debates that happen. That's why these cultural icons become so important, because ultimately they tell us who we are.
It would be a terrible human condition if we were to stop in our tracks every time somebody said no.
A parade of statues may be the future of many more communities in our diverse society. But how many statues are too many?
What we try to remember over and over again is that controversy is part of democracy, and that you cannot have democracy without controversy.
This is Martha's Co-op, one of a system of cooperative houses in Madison, Wisconsin.
What I learned from living in this house is that it's possible, which is a big thing. I never would have thought that it would be possible to live with 30 people and 7 or 8 kids for this long. Just the basic community environment is wonderful. And it just makes a lot of sense to me to live with people. I don't think it's that natural for humans to live in little isolated squares by themselves.
Does anybody know where our elusive agenda is?
In our heads.
Is it in our heads?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well then I have some late items, but I'll tell you at the meeting since it's in our heads.
First thing on the agenda is the cat issue, sponsored by Sierra, which is a decision item. Crasher policy, sponsored by Katie.
This sounds really radical, but I would like to eliminate the entire crasher policy because I feel like we've had a lot of really bad experiences with crashers here.
Maybe someone going over which areas are considered common areas, because my son and I were looking for the Christmas tree stand in one of the storage closets, and we almost stepped on somebody's head at 1 in the afternoon. Suddenly this head said, "You're going to step on my head." And my son pert near messed his pants. Because you're in the dark in a closet.
The interesting thing about living in a house like this is that it's 30 people's home, but it's our home. It's not an apartment building, it's a home. So it has to be home for each of the 30 people, and that's a very challenging thing to create and sustain.
That the person who's living here is financially responsible.
A new form of democracy evolved, known as Martha's Rules of Order. Majority rule with a minority veto. The aim is to reach a consensus, a decision with which all the residents can live.
If you are in favor of the proposal that's been put forth, you vote for. If you don't like it but you can live with it, you vote against. If you can't deal with it and you want to block it, you object. And if you don't have enough information to vote on it or you don't want to vote on it, you abstain.
As far as voting for and voting against, majority wins. Where it's different than a democracy, or what most people think of a democracy, is with this objection option, which says that if there's any one person that feels strongly enough against whatever the proposal is, they can choose to object to it. And one objection can beat 29 fours.
I want to be satisfied.
When someone objects, at that point we have a number of things that can happen. We can ask them to voice their concerns, and then we can fix them and have a revote, and then the person might not object anymore. We can mediate whatever the issue is and come in and say, well, what if we change it to this and this and this? So we work with the person who's objecting. And then the third option is that they don't budge, and they object. And that doesn't happen often, because people realize that it's a powerful tool to make the house go, and people don't abuse it.
Consensus building systems create better decisions because people try to take everyone's opinions and needs into account.
One of the most recent issues that the house confronted was whether to have cats or not in the house.
This is sort of where I came in. First co-op in this building opened in 1969, and the first 2 years' worth of house meetings were dominated by 2 issues: crashers and cats.
And for years, we didn't have cats because we have kids, and parents were scared that cats would hurt their kids or bite their kids. And we also had a number of people that were allergic. Well, last winter, we had a mice epidemic down here in the kitchen, and we went around and around brainstorming different options for how to get rid of the mice. We kept coming back to cats.
She doesn't have front claws, she has back claws. I don't know what that means in terms of mousing. She came that way, I didn't have that done to her.
She's got fangs.
She's got fangs.
So some people objected and said, we absolutely cannot have cats. People who wanted cats really wanted cats to kill the mice and also just to have as pets. So it went back and forth, and a lot of issues go out of the house meeting into the kitchen, and people just talk about it amongst each other. And so all these concerns came up and went around and around and around.